Hey, it's Sam and the Little Guy here with another story, another nerdy bedtime story. If you're ready for it, are you ready for it, little guy? He is not quite asleep yet, but he seems like he's getting there. So we will see. Fingers crossed. This little guy is 3 months old already. 3 months? Can you believe it? That's a long time for you. It's like all your life. Well, I guess that's how old he is. Then yes, it is all his life. How are we gonna get in so many stories if you're already 3 months old? I don't know. I don't know. We'll see. Ready for tonight's story, little guy? Are you getting sleepy? Okay. Um. So let's see. Where do we begin with this one? So once upon a time, Benny, there was a big war called World War II. Now this part is real. This part really happened in real life. Okay, in the 1940s, which is a long time ago, like your I guess your great grandparents' era. Um, yeah, about that. In the 1940s, America fought a war, America and some other countries, against a group of bad people called the Nazis. And the Nazis were bad because they wanted to hurt other people just for being different. And that isn't good. And they had taken over Germany, and some other countries were allied with them. And America fought against the Nazis and won and beat them. And there was a big war. That's why it was called World War II. And that part is all real. Okay. Now, once upon a time in the Marvel Universe, the Nazis were actually called Hydra because real life Nazis are kind of a sore subject. And their leader wasn't necessarily Hitler like it was in real life, but it was a man named Johann Schmidt. He's the bad guy of this movie. And one day, Johann Schmidt found the Tesseract, which was the item we saw at the end of the last story. And he wanted to use it to, I don't know, do some sinister things, like make Nazi weapons and stuff like that, probably. That makes sense, right? Yeah. So he was doing bad things with the Tesseract. And meanwhile, who's our good guy in this story? Let's find out. In America, in New York, there was a young man named Steve Rogers. And Steve was a scrawny little guy, but he had a big heart. He was brave, and he wanted to fight bullies and do good things. But he was just a little guy, and he was kind of weak and sickly, and he didn't have big muscles or anything, and he got beat up a lot. And he kept trying to join the army because he wanted to be a soldier and help the good guys win their war. But they wouldn't even let him be in the army because he was so little and scrawny. He kept getting rejected from the army. And then his friends were going off to war too. He had a friend named Bucky, who was a regular sized guy. And Bucky went off to the war and left Steve behind because Steve couldn't go. Until, Benny, one day, a scientist named Dr. Abraham Erskine found Steve and thought he would be good for an experiment. So they managed to get Steve into the army after all, and they put him through training, and he met some friends like Agent Peggy Carter, who was a lady agent who he kind of sort of fell in love with-ish. And then they did this experiment where Steve got a special serum put into him, and it changed his body, Benny. It made him not weak and little anymore. It made him big and strong. It gave him muscles. Yeah, so suddenly he was still the same person on the inside with the same good heart, but now he had big muscle and all that stuff. And that's why he could be Captain America. That was the first time I mentioned the name. There you go. That's what movie it is. So as soon as the experiment was over, everyone saw it was a success, except there was a spy from Hydra in there who didn't want the Americans to use the formula for anyone else. So he started shooting people. That's not good. And Steve ran after him with his big, strong muscles and fast legs now, and was able to beat up the spy, and stuff like that. And then he looked at himself and realized, oh, I'm big and strong now. And it was kind of everything he ever wanted, except he didn't know what to do next. Yeah. So let's see. They didn't even let him be in the army yet because he was kind of a freak, or he was, a science experiment. They had him put on a silly costume that looked like the American flag, and basically go dance on stage and be part of like a stage routine. That was kind of funny. Um, and he did that for a while, but Steve still wanted to go in the actual army and actually, make a difference and be a hero. And then one day, he heard that his friends in the army, including Bucky, had been captured by bad guys, and he was like, "Oh no!" and he wanted to go help. So Peggy Carter helped Steve sneak onto a plane and get over there to help them. Actually, so did a man who was their friend named Howard Stark. He was Tony Stark's dad. Remember him? Yeah, and they helped Steve get over to Germany, where he could rescue his friends from the bad guys. And when he did, he went in and found where they were being kept. And he found Bucky and some other soldiers. And guess who else he found, Benny? Johann Schmidt. Except it wasn't just Johann Schmidt. He had a human-looking face on the outside, but then his face came off for some reason. I think he got like, acid or something. I don't remember. And guess what, Benny? Underneath his face, there was a terrifying red skull. And that's why he is called the Red Skull. Dun dun dun. He's the bad guy. But Captain America beat him for now and saved the soldiers and brought them back to America, because that's what he does. And when he came back with all the soldiers, they realized, we should have been using this guy in the army to begin with. And maybe he can actually help us do things. So then, Captain America and his soldiers started doing missions all throughout the war. They went to all different countries and beat up the bad guys and saved the good guys because America, and it was very patriotic, and it was a big montage. Until, Benny, there was one mission. They were like on a snowy cliff or something on a train, and guess what? It was very sad. Bucky fell off the cliff, and Steve couldn't save him, and his friend Bucky died. Not really, he comes back later. But he died for now in the war, and it was very sad. So Steve was sad that his friend died. And he was still dealing with, the emotional effects of being Captain America and being in a war and all that stuff. So I'm sure he had a lot on his mind. And then, as the war was closing out, they had another big showdown one time against the Red Skull. It was Captain America, and of course Bucky wasn't with him anymore, but it was his Howling Commandos. He had some soldiers, his group of soldiers who was with him a lot. And they had a big fight against the bad guys, and Captain America went up into the airplanes, and let's see, he fought the Red Skull, because the Red Skull was inside an airplane, and was trying to launch some missiles against America that would destroy all of them. And that wasn't good. So Captain America had to go stop him. So he fought some bad guys who were flying the planes, and he even threw them out of the planes. I mean, it's kind of slightly morally ambiguous. Most good guys don't do that, but it's wartime, I guess. So, and he went to the plane where the Red Skull was, and they had a big fight. And then, after their fight, the Red Skull was trying to use the Tesseract, this magical, mysterious item he has, and he seemed like he vanished somewhere, or the machine or the item kind of consumed him or sent him somewhere. I wonder where he went, Benny. We'll find out later, but not for a long time, not for many movies from now. And Captain America won, except there was a problem. He was already on an airplane with a missile attached to it that was flying into America, and he couldn't stop it. Well, actually, he could stop it. The only way he could stop it was to bring it down into the icy water, and he did, but he got frozen along with it, because that was the only way he could stop it. So this is back in the 40s. Captain America went down into the icy water, and he was frozen underwater, and he just stayed there for a long, long time, and everyone thought he was dead. And sometimes in comic book science, when you get frozen inside icy water, you just stay that way and don't age for a long time, because that makes sense. Um, so the war's over, and America won. That happened in real life again, and everyone thought Captain America was dead and gone. Um, but guess what, Benny? Many years later, Steve Rogers woke up again, and he was just in a regular room in New York, and he was like, "Where am I? And where are you? Where have you taken me?" But he went out and realized things were very different from what the New York he used to know, because it was the present, or for him, the future. He had been asleep all that time, and the Avengers had rescued him and gotten him out of the ice. And he met Nick Fury, remember him? The secret agent who started to tell him all about the new America and the Avengers. And we'll see what happens after that. Okay, that's the end of that story. And they all lived happily ever after. Well, except for Bucky and Red Skull, who I guess didn't exactly live happily ever after. But they all continued to exist in some form or another, with most plot threads resolved for the time being, until the next movie. The end. Okay. Good night, little man. And good night, everyone out there. Like and subscribe if you enjoy this. And join us next time. Thanks a bunch.